Mishmintohis, Conracod Canyon, Coyote Woodland. Here with you, late February 2020. Nomadic native per usual. I'm here thinking, how does one feel comfortable voicing certain stress points? Is there a way that one could ever be comfortable expressing certain stress points when there are so many observed behaviors of a culture that supports white supremacy? Now, I say this lightly because we have been indoctrinated in a community or culture of settler colonialism. When we try to talk about the environment and environmentalism, and we try and talk about climate change, when people talk about reactionary tactics around strategies to approach or combat or solve issues around climate change, yet they take little to no steps in accounting for truth and history, in acknowledging that, at least when it comes to the Americas, Western settler colonialism was the beginning of the end. That is, the behaviors of the colonizers that capitalized off of the land and the resources, and the behavior and the mentality to support larger populations of people, and commerce and progress and technology booms. Technology of the Western colonial construct. Because indigenous cultures have always had technology, have always had science. Yet, our settler colonial narrative, this post-industrial, affluent, entitled, capitalistic, materialistic, instant gratification priority of a disposable society, has weighed in this communal culture of affluenza and negligence. So how does one who is aware of this navigate areas of white fragility and communities that are drenched in only knowing this culture that supports a white supremacist culture? Can it ever be safe? I want to feel happy and excited about amazing work being done. Yet, anytime I turn towards the great work being done, I see a lackluster of accountability. I see short-sighted and primitive decision-making practices. I see self-congratulatory tactics off of tiny wins or win-win models where the real win for the earth or the real win for the environment is not saying yes to progress or the economy. There are times that I feel like a crazy person when I say that I wish institutions, organizations, governments, and communal cultures would identify and acknowledge the rights of nature, would recognize and start commissions or coordinating committees around the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People. There is so much we can learn from indigenous cultures. And the problem with today's post-industrial settler narrative is that it dismisses indigenous wisdoms. It dismisses it and negates it to myth and legend, to storytelling or games of telephone. It dismisses generations of culture sharing, cultural protocols, societal governance, ecological management and restoration, diminishes it to a statement of Native American hunter-gatherer, making indigenous people sound like hand-in-mouth survivalists. And a huge amount of declaration praising technology and economy and all these supposed modern advances. Well, with all these modern advances, where's the culture of accountability and reciprocity to these living systems, these sacred systems that we are impacting and destroying? Are our youth knowing how to take care of our bioregion? Are we aligned and accountable to recognizing that our radius of awareness today is far too small by the comparison to our radius of impact? And when we recognize that, are we taking steps to be accountable and responsible and actually doing something about it? Or are we complacent? Are we lazy? Are we just saying, well, it's the way it is? Because every single one of us is contributing to the devastation of the earth. We could praise ourselves and say we're contributing to the Sierra Club. We could talk about how we like to recycle. We could talk about how we upcycle. But what is that really doing? That's individual. The Americentric perspective is very individualistic. Where is the communal connection? Where is the accountability? To the environment, to our family, to our communities, and to the next 7 generations. Do we even care? I see it happening. Generation after generation. The frustration. I've seen aunties and cousins and elders jaded and frustrated. I always wondered why, and now I'm feeling it. I'm optimistic. There are people who praise my energy, but I grow ever so tired. Definitely contemplating not posting this, but I probably will. Sorry you're not catching the ranting, rambling, wily coyote. This coyote's tired. I'm exhausted by witnessing self-congratulatory, privileged settlers proclaiming that they're doing great things for the environment, great things for community, great things for this, great things for that. Yet, if it doesn't benefit their wallet, if it doesn't give them an accolade, are they really doing things that benefit the next generations and not just of humans? Are they prepared to tell themselves no to the next progressive, economically viable opportunity? Are they prepared to acknowledge truth in history about indigenous peoples and give land back to be told that they're not allowed on it? Do you think people are prepared to be told that communities need spaces to gather, and they're in the position to give it to them. No strings. Do you think they could be told that that circle's not for them? No, everybody has some quid pro quo. I have no doubt that indigenous communities, especially intertribal and intercultural communities, would want to have gathering spaces that are inclusive, as well as opportunities for people to learn that there are times for exclusion, and that's necessary because we need to learn how to navigate that. It's necessary. We need to celebrate our diversity, and that means we need to check our entitlement. As curious as I am, I may never get to know our young male warrior songs, because they're meant for the young male warriors. And that's fine. I could be told no, but there are people who go shopping for their answer. Indigenous people see it. It's painful that people have a sense of entitlement that if they don't get the answer they want, they'll just go shopping for another native that'll give them the answer. It happens all the time. I grow tired. I am very happy with the projects that I'm committing to. I sometimes wonder where that energy goes. All that opportunity, all that opportunistic behavior. For those of you who watch this, I'm not sure what my message is. I would love to see allies, advocates, accomplices, and ultimately co-conspirators. I've been blessed to be a part of many conversations, and we need co-conspirators to create the reality that we want to see. Accountable judicial systems, culture change, behavioral change. Shift the societal patterns. Care about the next generations. Break down the society that supports a white supremacist culture. It breaks people. It turns people complacent. The earth is screwed if we continue this way. We need to look history, authentic, multi-perspective versions of historical record, accounting, storytelling, truths. We need to see as much as possible, account for it, recognize it, look it in its ugly face, sit down with it, bring it in, and then strategize futures. We need to see it for its truest form, because without that, we're going forward misinformed. As we go forward misinformed, we're making decisions that are, well, we're repeating destructive patterns. We're not hearing as many perspectives as necessary. We're not bringing value to cultural constructs and societal input of diverse narratives and perspectives that could yield a lot of insight to be of assistance towards strategizing sustainable futures. From as simple as that little story, stereotypical conversation of the book smart youngster who aced all his classes, to the third generation, the great-grandparent farmer who can't read, who could talk about ecology, who could talk about soil lab tests, who could talk about what can grow. Both have amazing, valuable perspectives. And there are things that each of them can learn from each other. And there will be times that both of them need to humble themselves. But it's also due diligence and cultural respect to afford that kind of interaction. The opportunity to transpire without negating to saying academia is more important, or age is more important, or elderhood is more important. Yes, elders have amazing wisdom, and it's necessary to honor that. They don't have much time left. No. It's frustrating hearing about organizations that want to conserve land and open it up for public access, when Indigenous peoples don't even have the right to steward their Indigenous homelands, to even be present on their Indigenous homelands, to even harvest or connect to the cultural resources that their ancestors have always had connection to. All these things are possible. However, we have a system that negates and denies honoring truth and history. We have a society and a culture that supports a white supremacist culture. You have people who don't even know Native people, Indigenous people exist, let alone have entire systems of operations that can restore a right relationship with these lands that we are on. We all have a lot of work to do. It's just painful to witness these exclusionary tactics, this willful ignorance, the desecration of sacred sites, the disregard to cultural equity, the continual paper and cultural genocide, and the never-ending proclamations of the well-intended energies. And I still have to show up with a smile on my face. I still have to be patient. I still have to be accountable for how my actions and my words impact others. I still have to give chances. I still have to have hope. I recognize how lucky I am to enter circles and witness community members who are able to give me feedback about what I say or what I do. It's sometimes very heavy. I recognize my privilege from being an Indigenous woman raised on the land of her ancestors in a very traditional and intertribal, culturally rich environment. Not many Indigenous peoples are able to say that. I recognize that privilege. I recognize the privilege of being a brown person able to just have casual conversations with other community members and having inside jokes about things. I recognize that in some of those circles, trust comes faster. I recognize that privilege. There are many things I don't get to enjoy. And it's frustrating when people witness the argument about how privilege and white privilege has been weaponized. It's frustrating when things like this are weaponized. It isn't fair. But it doesn't mean that it should be silenced. These are real occurrences, real perspectives, real truths that need to be aired. And yes, it is not fair that they are weaponized. I'm not a fan of weaponizing these arguments. Not sure what to say. I hope my family and friends who watch this see that I'm tired, that I continue to do the work, that I will continue to work on myself. I will attempt to check myself and witness how the community holds me accountable, to see how my elders see me, to acknowledge what wisdom they have to share. The way I put it is, I will do what I can, when I can, where I can, whatever I can, for as long as I can, to honor truth and history, to honor my ancestors to the best of my ability, and to be a good ancestor in training. I'm a catalyst of ideas. Now I just need people who are down for the cause and are ready to pick up some of these ideas, because I have some good ones, and I'm willing to take constructive criticism and collaborate. I just can't keep blazing forward alone, let alone with such extreme scrutiny from relatives, people who may only choose to see parts of what I get a chance to present on social media, people who may only get to witness parts of perspectives of places I've been, or where I'm seen, or clips of what has been said. There's not much that I could do about that. However, I am hurt by it, that my relatives elect not to look deeper into things. I would hope that there are those who do understand where I come from, and who do understand the work that I'm doing. I would hope that those community members could advocate to help other relatives understand. I'm not trying to make everybody happy. I'm not trying to be everyone's friend. I am saying that knee-jerk, reactionary, short-thought, primitive decision-making patterns are detrimental. And we need to be in community together. We do need to hold each other accountable. So, I've probably rambled on too long. I'm drained from the event I was at, and all I did was sit there and listen. I hope I get a chance to interact with more optimistic environments. Actually, no, it was optimistic. There is an amazing being that is in the, I would hope I'll call the heart of that organization, who is doing intentional, integral work for their own self in acknowledging these systems of oppression and these patterns. And they recognize they don't know what they don't know, and they're taking steps to become familiar. However, this is a long journey for one individual, and I'm putting hopes and expectations that they can enact, envision, engage, and change in this organization. Maybe it's a pipe dream. Maybe it's a goal. I am optimistic, though. And I'm glad I know this individual. So, yeah. Hit the 25-minute marker. Lots of love, everyone. Thanks for listening.